So this is, for people who haven't seen the documentary, the end of the documentary, or near the end of the documentary. Many of us saw this clip a few weeks ago. We showed it on this show about you trying to get an interview with Mr. Seymour. One of the things I commented on the night we showed it, Mihi, and I'd love a response from you at the end of this, is we found it intriguing how no other journalist wanted to interrupt you. They just kind of let you go and stood back, which we thought was a fascinating observation. But we might talk about that at the end. Just let people see the full version of it.
I wish you all the best with your taxpayer-funded crackpot documentary. We've seen your questions, and I think you're a joke.
You say that you're the party of democracy. In the spirit of democracy, when am I meant to get a word in to do my job?
Excuse me. Hi folks, how you going?
Did you say to an ACT candidate that the reaction to your treaty policy would be like civil war?
No, I don't believe I've said that.
The work you did in Canada on Indigenous policy, are you using that as a roadmap here for ACT's treaty policies?
I didn't do any work on Indigenous policy.
Do you still share the views of Dr. Tom Flanagan?
Look, I think he's a professor of politics who's written a lot of things. I think some of them are very right.
Which ones?
Well, he's a guy I haven't actually seen for over a decade.
His Indigenous policy?
Well, again, I'm not familiar with all his policies, so, you know.
Well, you quoted him in your book.
Well, you may well have done, but...
And the ACT School of Politics asked for people to read about him.
Well, he's written a book about how to campaign, which is what it was about.
How about Paul Bunner? He claims residential schools in Canada is a bogus genocide claim.
I don't know who that is.
As the editor of C2C Journal, you platformed him and you quoted, thankless task of setting the record straight. So, is the Canadian residential schools a bogus claim?
10 years ago when we published lots of people.
And just a few years before you came into politics,
Not everybody that edits something actually agrees with everything that people write on their banner.
But you agreed with it. You said the thankless task of setting the record straight.
Yeah, well, in that case he was. But
in 2023,
anyway,
I asked you if you had
I tell you what, I'm here and happy to take any questions from people who
are
asking
someone help me.
Connections
to the Atlas Network, and you said no.
The HAC Party does not.
No, all right, folks,
I'm here to take questions. I'm here to take questions from people about serious matters, not crackpot conspiracy documentaries.
What conspiracy am I a crackpot of?
Several.
You invited plenty of debate for the Treaty Principles Bill, but you refused to sit down with people and talk.
I'm happy to sit down with any rational person and talk. You're a conspiracy nutter.
Yeah, that's the end of the tiles. And as I said, when you have that full context of the documentary behind it, a lot of those questions now make sense. The question you asked him about Atlas, and you asked it again, the ACT Party does not have links to Atlas, he says, which of course you asked, what about you? It's a bit like the other day when he said, the taxpayer will not be paying for my trip to do the Oxford debate. But no journalist said, oh, is somebody else? Who else is paying for it? Now, there was always this sort of, is there another question out there? What did you get out of that interaction with him on the tiles, Mihi? What did you find out, if anything?
That's just what we have to do. So yeah, so the purpose for travelling to Wellington that day is to exhaust every opportunity with the person who we're doing the story on, just in case they rethought it and wanted to actually say something. That's what I got out of it, is the opportunity to, kanohi ki te kanohi, face to face, put those questions to him, and allow him the space and opportunity to respond if he wanted to, if he had changed his mind. That's what we got out of it. And I think we played this documentary with a really straight bat, and so it was early on, our discussion was that we wouldn't cut things up, would put whole chunks of things in so the audience and the viewer could see it for what it was, and it was fair.
Yeah. And what about that point that when you got in there and just went hell for leather, all the other journalists seemed to not literally take a step back, but they seemed to be like going, you do your thing, we're here just listening as well. Did you get the sense that they were sort of like, yep, go, you can keep going?
Honestly, I hadn't spoken to anyone before we got there, except for Claudette Haueti earlier on, just to say hi and the rest of it. And so no one really knew what we were doing. But we have turned up to Parliament, Annabelle and I, by ourselves, and they're like, oh, what are these two here for? Must be something they're doing for a documentary, so they're familiar with us, but they never know what we're doing. I just don't think I gave a split second. Like, I knew that you know that when you're on those towels anyway, you have to be really quick on your feet, and as soon as you take a breath, then someone else is in. So I don't know if the rest of the gallery didn't have any questions, was waiting for me, or whether I just didn't give them an opportunity to get in there.
I think because they're there every day, and because they know that we only come down for a very specific reason, that they, the whakawhanaungatanga of journalism comes to the fore. They recognise that, that we have very limited opportunities to speak to these politicians, and so with good collegial manners, they allow Mihi to get in there and put all the questions to them that we need to, because they know that they'll be there, the next day, and the day after that. Whereas for us, we like, we're one-hit wonders down there. So we appreciated that that they let us get those questions in. But I had such admiration for Mihi that day, because when you're in the press gallery, they're asking questions, but they're all singing off the same song sheet. They know what the news of the day is. Everybody's looking at the same issues that are coming up in the House or whatever. And so none of your questions, I assume, would really come as a surprise to each other. But when you're, asking one of New Zealand's most senior politicians about a whole lot of random stuff in front of the whole press pack that nobody else knows about, it could be easy to lose your nerve, but Mihi didn't, and she just smashed out a whole lot of great questions, and I think it's a really special part of the documentary.
Yeah, that was very cool. Chewie, you got something to say, sir?
I don't think I've ever seen David Seymour so flustered. Which I think is why I enjoy that footage as much as I do, and why I have watched it as many times as I have. We've commented on the show a couple of times in the last couple of weeks that the ACT Party seem to be in the habit of posting up footage and thinking it's a win, when that isn't how it's received. They did it in the week just gone with the John Campbell interview. They seem pretty happy to put up that footage that they recorded of this interview, thinking it was somehow a win for David Seymour. How much work is the ACT Party social media team doing for you guys?
Well, it was really helpful for us because their audio is so great.
Yep.
And so we were able to use their audio. It's great audio. Mr. Seymour wears a audio pack just under his shirt behind his tie, and it was, we didn't need a soundie that day. So it was helpful in that regard. Look, I think that the reason they put it up is because, that's just what they do every single day. They've got their own kind of ACT Party YouTube channel happening, which is interesting in itself, because at Parliament and in journalism, there's a set of rules that we have to abide by. But we're now in new territory where political parties, and not so much the politicians, but their staff, have become kind of camera operators and soundies and editors, and they are cutting together bits and pieces of the media. So things have really changed in the last five or so years. It's interesting territory.